Hello, everybody. It's me, Jim Mundy, the historian for the Union League Legacy Foundation, welcoming you back, I hope, to another episode of Mondays with Mundy. So this is March the 1st, and this is the first day of Women's History Month. And even though every month is Women's History Month, we're going to take advantage of this particular opportunity to talk about women's history at the League. All right? Makes sense, doesn't it? It does to me. So if you're watching, you're stuck with this, all right? But I think you'll enjoy it. It's a neat story. So as I think they all are, but this one's pretty good. So I'm going to do my ubiquitous screen share. All right. I'm going to pull up. All right. So everybody can see that, right? Oh, no, I know what I did. So I got to go. Oops. Here we go. Come on. Get out of there. I got to go slideshow from the beginning. I screwed this up the last time. So here we are. Not just the ladies who lunch. Okay. Which, by the way, think of the song from the Stephen Sondheim musical Company. Here's to the ladies who lunch. So this is our tribute to them, and the ones who don't just lunch either. Well, clearly these aren't the ladies who lunch, as you can tell. 1964. Actually, the 1960s were a decade of change at the League. It really ushered in, if you will, a new second half, or at least to the 20th century. And this is an event called Date with Dad, and it was a brand new event. But as you can see, there are fathers and grandfathers and daughters and granddaughters, and they're all having a good time doing the twist, it looks like. So 1964 was another opportunity for other ladies to get involved, and let's take a look at that. So here we are. This is September 27th of 1964, Lincoln Hall, the great ballroom in the club. And speaking on the stage is League member and Pennsylvania U.S. Senator Hugh Scott, one of the great and most powerful senators in the mid-20th century, to be honest. And why is he here? He's here because in 1962, Thomas B. McKay, the League president, suggested that after the Republican defeat in the 1960 presidential election, that the League needed to get more politically active. And so the League in 1963 created a political activities committee. Made sense, right? So, and the idea then was to re-engage members both at the political level, but also at the fundraising level, because apparently that must have been an issue back then. So, and you can imagine there was a fair amount of wealth at the League House in the 1960s itself. And so in 1964, Hugh Scott was invited to give a talk to an audience that included both the men and women of the League, that is, the members and the ladies of the League. So when you look in the audience, you can see lots of women. All right, this is the first time that they've been asked to really become engaged in something other than, just a dinner here or a dinner dance there or something nice here. I mean, now they're being taken seriously, all right, because they're also being asked to give their money as well. And this event, actually in 1964, through its political activities, the League raised $260,000. And in 2021 dollars, that's close to $1.8 million. So just imagine the League trying to raise that kind of money today for anything. I mean, it's extraordinary. But that was the League in the 1960s. So here we have 1964 and the ladies, all right, at the working through the Political Activities Committee. Now that would change because in 1966, here we go, another perspective on that, okay. 1966, it's now the Ladies Committee of the Union League Campaign Committee. All right, now keep in mind, 64 was another presidential year in which they lost again, the Republicans, that is. So Barry Goldwater lost to Lyndon Baines Johnson. So they're still at it. So the ladies are now being asked to have luncheons as fundraisers and to engage the ladies in political activity in the League itself. So in 1966, the guest of honor was, as you can see, the candidate for governor, the Honorable Raymond P. Schaefer, and he would become the governor of Pennsylvania. He would defeat Milton Schaap that year. So now they're getting even more serious. And what happens next? All right, well, this is 1966. This is that luncheon that you just saw the program for. And this is the registration table. You can see they are engaged. I mean, that's all they were waiting for, I think. So then in 1967, Rhoda Richards, the wife of the League president, became the chairman of what they called the Ladies Luncheon Committee. And you can see Mrs. Richards on the far right-hand side. And I'm sure it's no coincidence that they're standing under a portrait of Dwight Eisenhower either. So Rhoda Richards, would, as the first chair of this committee, would really take it, and she would just send it off into a really great direction for the League at that point in time. So 1967, the way she thought they would raise money is through a fashion show, first one. And this is Lincoln Hall being set for that fashion show. And here it is again, and you can see all these ladies. Ever since 1967, this event has been a sellout every year, year in, year out. It is one of the hardest tickets to get. And it sells out, half a year ahead of time. It's just an amazing event and has become just part of the annual culture of the League House itself. So this was a great success. Now that year, the fashion show raised $3,200, about $25,000 in 2021 currency. So they were off to a good start. Okay. And this is 1968, the year after. And you can see Mrs. Richards on the far left-hand side. And this time, the guest of honor was Mrs. Richard Schweiker. And Mr. Schweiker at that point was a U.S. representative, District 13, to the House of Representatives in the U.S. Congress. So Mrs. Richards on the left, then Mrs. John Riley next to her, and in the middle, Mrs. Claire Schweiker. And to her right, we have Mrs. John S.D. Eisenhower, Barbara Eisenhower at that time. And then on the far right, we have Mrs. Pearl Hamilton, Betty Hamilton, and her husband would become our president of the League in the 1980s. And by the way, next week is going to be Mrs. Hamilton's 99th birthday. So happy birthday, Mrs. Hamilton. I hope you're watching this. So these ladies, as you can see, they jumped in the deep end of the pool. Okay, they really got busy doing it. Now, in between 1968 and 1986, when this photograph was taken, you can see a lot of things have happened. What I call, demographic changes, if you will. So in 1974, the League admits its first Black member, William Thaddeus Coleman Jr., about whom we heard last week. 1976, most importantly, for the story that we're telling right now, the League no longer required that members and candidates for membership vote Republican in American presidential elections. That had been a requirement for membership since the 1890s. Now it's gone. So the ladies' luncheon committee doesn't need to raise money for the Republican Party anymore, right? Now it has to find some other way to use its money. And then in 1986, the League admitted women to membership. And you've seen this photograph before if you've watched some of these episodes. This is 4 of the first 8 women admitted to membership at the board meeting on August 24th of 1986. Left to right, Marjorie Broderick, Joan Carter, Diane Allen, and Karen Connor. And Marjorie Broderick, left-hand side, would be the first woman elected to the board of directors in 1993. Joan Carter would be elected the first woman president of the League in 2011. Diane Allen would also serve on the board, and Karen Connor has been involved in many, many different activities. So you can see how now there's a whole new level of participation of the ladies of the League, the women of the League themselves. Now, in the meantime, what has the Ladies' Luncheon Committee been doing besides holding these annual fashion shows? Well, they were raising the money for scholarships because beginning in the 1950s, the League had a scholarship committee. And the ladies thought that that was a good way of spending their money. And they were right. And we'll hear more about that later. So this is 1992. And on the left, Mrs. Joanne Bagnell was the chairwoman of the Ladies Committee at that point in time. On the right-hand side, Mr. Robert Daly was the chair of the Scholarship Committee. And the young lady in the middle was the recipient of the Ladies Committee's scholarship that year. So that's what they were doing with their money. Education has always been incredibly important to the League and to the ladies themselves. And here we can see a program from 1992. And if you look in the lower right-hand corner, it reads, a Union League scholarship will be awarded by the Ladies' Luncheon Committee with proceeds of the 1992 luncheon. So that's how they're doing it, okay? But as we've just seen, the League is changing and ladies are becoming more sophisticated like the League itself. So by 1997, if you look at the front on the right-hand side, the annual luncheon of the Ladies Committee. So it's no longer the Ladies' Luncheon Committee, it's now the Ladies Committee. So forget about the lunch. I mean, they still do the fashion show and they'll always do the fashion show. But now I think the message is that we take ourselves more seriously, and I think the League has to take us more seriously as well, and the League has. So So here we are. How did the ladies change? All right. This is 1999. And when Irene Horseman was chairwoman of the Ladies Committee 1988, 1989, and 1990, she was really the first one to try and get the Ladies Committee in more of the history and cultural aspects of the club itself. And so in 1999, the Ladies Committee gave the then Abraham Lincoln Foundation $10,000 to have this Civil War battle flag conserved. And it's one of the most important objects in the League's Civil War historical collection. The flag itself is from the Battle of Gettysburg, July the 3rd of 1863, and it is the headquarters flag for Brigadier General Alexander Stuart Webb, who commanded the Philadelphia Brigade, which on July the 3rd repulsed Pickett's charge that basically won the battle for the Union Army. And so this is the flag that flew beside General Webb on the field of battle during that confrontation. So it's a really important thing. And it was the beginning of a great relationship between the Ladies Committee and the foundations. It's been going on ever since. So, all right. Now here we can see, back to scholarships. This is 2002. You can see they're still giving out scholarships. At this point, there's one a year because that's what they have the money for at this point in time. So that's still important to them. And here's the ubiquitous check photograph. We see these in the newspapers all the time. If you belong to a nonprofit or any kind of a charity activity, it takes money. And so the ladies, you're going to see a few of these photographs, just so you know. So this is the Ladies Committee in 2002. And on the left-hand side, Mr. Leonard Melman was the chairman of the Scholarship Foundation. And so they are, and this has been a tradition that's been going on these many years. All right. Here we are in 2006, and that is Joe Dubay, who at that point was the director of the Abraham Lincoln Foundation, which oversaw the fundraising for scholarship and youth work committees as well. And if you look on the left, at the upper left-hand corner on the wall of the 15th Street stairwell, you will see that Civil War flag we just saw a few minutes ago. So the money is coming in. And this is 2008. We went from 2000, we did 2006 with Joe Dubay, 2008. John Miko, the gentleman on the left-hand side, is the executive director of, well, then it was the Abraham Lincoln Foundation, and now he's the director of the Legacy Foundation, which now includes all three major philanthropic foundations for the League: Youth Work, Scholarship, and Abraham Lincoln, all rolled into one as our legacy. And as you can see, the checks are getting bigger because the ladies are taking us more and more seriously. So that was 2008. Now, in 2001, the Ladies Committee decided that they would flex their muscles in new directions, if you will. And so they created something called the Crystal Award. And I'm just going to read you how they described it. So, all right. And the Crystal Award was created to recognize the contributions of its recipients to the arts and humanities. Among the League's members, past and present, are great contributors to the intellectual, cultural, and humanitarian development of its city, state, and nation. The Ladies Committee is pleased to be another contributor to the continuing history and heritage of the Union League. And that's what they're doing. So the first award was in 2001 to Lenora Annenberg, but they don't give them out every year. Every other year, maybe every third year. So this was Dorrance Dodo Hamilton, right, whose father was the creator of condensed soup and Campbell Soup Company, all that good stuff. And that was 2006. So 2008, we have one of Philadelphia's greatest philanthropic couples of all time, Marguerite and Jerry Lenfest. And that's Nancy Grossman on the left-hand side, then chairwoman of the Ladies Committee, and Mr. Fred Hobb on the right-hand side, who was the president of the Union League. So 2010, First Lady Laura Bush came to the League to receive the Crystal Award from League President Jack Zook on the left-hand side and Judy Crow, again, chairwoman of the Ladies Committee, on the right-hand side. So you can see how the ladies aren't just provincial in their thinking. I mean, they're really reaching out, and it was an honor to have the First Lady here at the League. And then in 2012, perhaps the League's favorite couple, at least once upon a time, are the Templetons. Dr. Pina Templeton, or Josephina Templeton on the left-hand side, and her husband, Dr. John Templeton. And of course, the Templeton Heritage Center at the Union League is named after Dr. Jack Templeton's father, Sir John Templeton, because the Templetons were just some of the most wonderful donors to the League and to the foundations while they were alive. And Pina only died about maybe a little over a year ago. So, but left to right, we have Joan Carter, who was then president of the Union League. Again, this is 2012. The Templetons. Then we have Joan Abel, and Deborah Dorsheimer. I was about to say Gary Dorsheimer, husband of the doctor. So Deborah Dorsheimer, and they were the co-chairs of the Ladies Committee at that point in time. And really just wonderful people all the way around. So that was 2012. Okay, so the Ladies Committee, they still have fashion shows. All right, don't get me wrong. that will never stop. It is just a spectacular day, and one, again, that is a sellout every year, year in and year out. And it's just a great fundraiser, and the ladies work really hard at it. So here we are, another Czech photograph. Now, this is 2019. It was the last time that we've had an opportunity for one of these occasions, because, of course, in 2020, with the COVID virus, everything got postponed. So as you can see, now we have two checks, one to the Scholarship Foundation on the left-hand side, one to the Youth Work Foundation on the right-hand side, close to $40,000 between the two checks, which is just absolutely amazing. And in this image, the photograph, the chairwoman of the Ladies Committee is Megan Russell. That is she, fourth from the right, in that kind of black sweater, black turtleneck. And Megan's been a great supporter of everything the Legacy Foundation does with the Ladies Committee. And by now, in all these years since this story began, the Ladies Committee, in all of its different forms, has raised close to $500,000 for all the different charitable activities of the foundations themselves. $500,000, almost, that is just a lot of money. And it has been an incredible help to everything that the Legacy Foundation has been trying to do, and will do in the future, as you can imagine. So who do we see? Okay, so shout out to some of the ladies. We've already talked about some already, but there's some ladies who deserve special recognition, perhaps. So we have Ellie Haupt, who regretfully just died a few weeks ago. Rest her soul. We have Randy Januszewski. You can see in this photograph, Randy is center left, just to the right of that check. So that's Randy with the short brown hair. Okay. We have Joan Abel, who we've already met in one of the previous photographs. We have Dottie Giordano, who has just been a constant source of inspiration for all of us. We have Pina Templeton, okay, and as I said, and rest her soul as well. So the ladies have done more than their fair share. Actually, they are probably one of the most, if not the most, generous group of donors, both as a group, as a collection, and as individuals as well, all right, to the work of the foundation. So that's how the ladies who don't lunch anymore contribute to not only the financial health of the foundation, but also to the cultural life and just the activity and the activities of the League House itself. So hats off to the Ladies Committee. May you thrive and flourish forever. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little episode to start Women's History Month here at the League. Stay well, stay healthy, get your vaccines. They're going to start to come again. So that will all be a lot healthier. And in the meantime, a shout out to the Legacy Foundation for once again sponsoring these weekly episodes. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you next week. Goodbye.